Today, almost everyone has a mobile phone that lets them communicate with almost anyone, anywhere. But just a few decades ago, such devices existed only on Star Trek and in science fiction novels. In those days, telephones came one per house. They hung on the kitchen wall or perched on a hallway table. It seems quaint now, but that rotary dial phone was a family's lifeline to the outside world. How many of these features of the rotary telephone do you remember? The two-piece, hardwired rotary dial phone required you to put your finger in the correct numbered hole and spin the dial for each digit of the telephone number you were dialing. If you accidentally dialed a wrong digit, you would have to hang up and start all over again. Introduced in 1892, rotary phones became the national standard in 1919, but were phased out in the 1980s in favor of push buttons. In the early days of service, the phones in a neighborhood were all connected to a local phone exchange, which would be given a name, Glendale, for example, or Lakewood. Your number was the name of your exchange, plus your home's telephone 4 or 5-digit number. When you picked up your phone, the operator answered and asked, "What number?" You would say, "Lakewood 2697, or whatever number you were calling. Years later, the operators at the exchange were gone, but the exchange names lingered. Now, instead of asking for Lakewood 2697, you dialed the numbers that corresponded to the first two letters. For L, you would dial a 5, and for A, you would dial a 2. If you called someone who was already on the phone, your call didn't go to voicemail. Instead, you got this annoying tone, and you had to call back later. Talk about inconvenient.
Good morning. I'd like to talk over with you our job of taking care of our party line customers.
In the 1950s, most phones in America were on party lines with other houses, and everyone had to share a single connection to the central exchange. This meant neighbors could eavesdrop on your conversations, and a particularly talkative neighbor might tie up the line for hours. Some systems would use different rings for each customer, so you'd know if the call was for you or for a neighbor. If you had to make a call while away from home, there was no phone in your pocket. You had to find the nearest phone booth and drop coins in a slot. Calls cost a nickel until the 1950s, a dime until the mid-1980s, and then a quarter. A phone call today will cost you 50 cents, but good luck finding a phone booth.